Okay, what about those government people? So you're a guy and you want to know what's going on with them government people, where the government people, I guess, were gonna take some time off from work because the government don't have enough money or something. But there was a big scandal where these government people were forced not to go to work, and they weren't going to get back pay or paid. They weren't going to get paid back. They weren't going to get back pay. They weren't going to have any way to figure it out. Yeah, I heard about that too. And you're kind of wondering if that means the collapse of the United States would happen this fast. Well, let's go back to the days of the Great Depression. Okay, in the days of the Great Depression, let's see. Okay, we're in the days of the Great Depression. Let's back up. Okay, the United States is overloaded in corruption, telling gods fuck you. The United States can't corrupt and commit enough crime with other countries and say fuck you to gods. The United States had pretty good wealth and strength, and we're saying fuck you to gods. All of a sudden, bam! All of a sudden, they had no money out of nowhere and didn't know what the hell to do. So, of course, gods, remember all those fuck yous? You know, we don't know about these fuck yous. Then, bam, they kept getting poorer and nothing was getting better. Well, God, about these fuck yous and whatever, and all this corruption. You know, we weren't going to commit that much crime and corruption anymore anyway. So, God, and then bam, they just kept getting more poor. And the gods weren't listening to their fuck you backpedaling. I'll stop being corrupt and so criminal and so fuck you to God now. Gods just weren't fucking listening. Like Sodom and Gomorrah and Noah's Ark, man, it was on. The gods were ready to destroy and it was over. They already pushed it too far. So they got poor. And they just couldn't figure out how to survive. So they started giving people paychecks with that weird, like, you know, to enjoy this paycheck because it might be your last kind of weird comments and statements all the time. Then the loser United States hoarded as much as they could selfishly all to themselves in a corner. And then the Great Depression started. There just wasn't food, money. There wasn't enough of anything anywhere. And the United States tried to feed their fat, disgusting selves in the corner and survive longer than everybody else. And what happened was the Great Depression got so bad, they were making Christmas out of dead fruits and stuff on the tree to pretend it's a good Christmas. Mostly treating popcorn like a great indulgence because it was one of the few things that can only be popcorn. And was easier to get their hands on than most things. They would have a piece of bread and some water with whatever potato or tomato, whatever they had to put in it. And just try to make it work and seem like they ate so much and ate so good. And while they were going down that badly, the United States was living like fat fucks, pretending like they were going down like everybody else. So the United States lived like fat fucks, fuck you style, gorging out on what they had hoarded for about a year while everybody else was just going down and living like shit. So by the time the Great Depression hit the worst of it. So the worst of the Great Depression, there just was not livability, survivability easily. So by the end of the Great Depression, you could not live and not survive, and it was that easy to get there. By that time, the United States that had lied, cheated, stilled, and killed to have advantage was about, 20% doing better than everybody else. And they had sworn at that time they'd never go against God again. Well, yeah. When people commit crime and they're busted, they'll promise anything and never mean it. So what would that be today? I'd say probably something similar because, like, you run out of money, that's what collapses the system. So I'd say they're making people not go to work. So they're making people not go to work, and they won't repay them. They're a country that used to borrow money from other countries, and gods have ruined it. They can't borrow money from other countries without killing them and the other countries they borrowed from. So they're running out of money. If they borrow money, it just kills them and the other country more. And makes everything more poverty. I'd say... So they laughed in corruption at the expense of God and committed crime. For like 6 years. They had laughed against God and committed pretty serious corruption and crime for like 6 years. And then they started getting poor. Their poverty took a downturn. It took a few years for their poverty as a country to become the Great Depression. Or the beginning of the Great Depression. So I'd say, based on the timelines of what's going on, this is all going to be far worse. But always these kind of things are similar. These things are always similar. So the downfall is probably going to be worse. But let's see, based on how long they've committed crime and said fuck you to God as countries. And then these people can't go to work. Let me see if there was, in the Great Depression, when they were running out of money, they just fired. Okay, during the time of the Great Depression, as they were running out of money, they would just fire people. They would just be like, we're running out of money, everybody's fired, we don't even care if there's a government running anything. So in the days of the Great Depression, just fire everybody. If we're all dead and screwed and poor anyway, who cares? During this time, they're trying to keep people employed and make people unemployed but come back or something. And they have little to no money to figure out anything with. It looks like their bank account is so sad, it would make anybody scared beyond words. But they just keep lying and trying to figure out what to do. Try to juggle creativity. And they can't produce money, and they know it. They can't borrow money without bad things, and they know it. I'd say that all these people that can't go to work and have to come back or whatever isn't really the problem or part of the problem. I think they don't have money. They don't have money avenues or options. And their answer is always just crime even more. That's what I'm worried about. See, in the Great Depression, fire everybody. We're already poor. We already said fuck you to God. We already committed too much crime. We're already fucked. And then they just hoarded shit, and everybody was like screwed with whatever they have and fend for themselves. And that's how the whole Great Depression went. With this thing, they're so damn poor but don't want to admit to it because they've become weird Looney Tunes. So they're so damn poor but don't want to admit to anything. They're drowning in poor but don't want to admit to anything. I don't know how this will end. I would think the United States was smarter in the Great Depression because you drop everything and run. So I would say the United States handled the Great Depression very well. Fire everybody, we're already poor, God's already pissed. And just run and hoard what you got and get through it. The United States was smart last time. This time they have killed God and more. They're just way too weird in the head and taking it way too far when there's no money or anything anymore anyway. They are writing checks when they know there's no money to cover it anywhere. But in their theory, if I can write a check and some bank has money, I don't have to give a shit until there's absolutely no paper money anywhere. Okay, but I think this is a scary collapse. See, in the Great Depression, when they just didn't have any money as a country, they knew to hoard whatever was left and screw everybody and take off. And then everybody just survived how they survived through the whole thing. In this thing, there's no money in the bank. But they keep saying, but there's paper money at every bank location. So we'll just keep writing checks as a country. And some bank location has to keep passing out money. Yeah, I don't think they understand how collapse money systems work. I don't think they understand how that would collapse the system even more than basic system collapse. But sadly, I hate to tell you this, it's never happened before. So I don't even know how to estimate what would happen because it's just too dangerous. It's just too bad and it's just too scary. Most gods would tell you what they're doing is just too insanely suicidal. No one would want to try to predict how badly something that bad could go. Just think about it. A country that has no money, they don't have any more money, but they just keep writing checks because every bank account and every bank system has to honor their paper check. But there's no money. So the United States is never going to give them the money back. And you're like, well, then where's the money coming from? They just type on the computer that money went into their bank system, and it doesn't. So this is really scary too. This is the scariest shit. When you have a bank system of just money, so back in the Great Depression, or back when there was the Great Depression, when they were poor also, they weren't going to be able to play it off very much because all there was paper money. And once the United States was poor during the Great Depression, once the money's gone, the money's gone. You don't have a lot of things you can do. The money's just gone. It's just paper money and it's all gone. So you take whatever's left and hoard and run. This sounds kind of scary. So as I'm analyzing this to answer the prayer of that God, this is kind of scary because I'm starting to realize what they are doing. So they make a bunch of paper checks. So they're the United States making these paper checks to pay somebody or something. There's no money in the United States bank accounts. So the United States bank accounts don't have any money. But they make these paper checks. And then after the paper check is deposited into like the Wells Fargo, they fraud off the charts. So the Wells Fargo types in the paper check information. And then the United States does this weird, stupid shit through technology to make it seem like the money system has been taken care of. Now pay them their money or blah, 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 whatever shit. They're trying to use technology to make it seem like these paper checks from the United States are being paid and being paid and being paid. They're not. This is worse than basic system collapse. This is basic. This is the worst thing beyond financial collapse ever known. And I know they're just going to sit there and act like they don't speak English and never care. Oh, shit.